much. It's truly an honor to be in the same room with all of you. Actually, it's fantastic to be here. I'm very honored. Well, I wanted to talk to you and kind of transfer some of the core values that I learned from some of the key peacemakers over the years. And I'll start off with Mother Teresa, who felt that the greatest injustice that she saw in regards to the poor was not necessarily, or not so much, the fact that we have deprived them of material goods and in regard to sharing, but it was really that we deprived them of their dignity and respect. And I think in the work that you're all doing, I think that the dignity and respect that you show individuals is so imperative. And Mother Teresa, she felt that the greatest disease really was that disease of being unloved, uncared for. And those were the poorest of the poor to her. She felt that in Calcutta, you know, she did see individuals that were starving, that were dying on the streets, but she realized that in the West there was far more deeper poverty, that poverty of being rejected and alienated. And in fact, if you were ever to meet Mother, she would actually, if she hadn't met you for the first time, she would actually bow to you. And what she was actually doing, because I had the opportunity to ask her a little bit about that, she said that she was bowing to the presence of God in each person. She had a great ability to see the presence of God in each face that she came into contact with. And I asked her about that as well, because she said that she never got overwhelmed with the amount of poverty. She said that I can only love one person at a time, I can only serve one person at a time, so that's how she went about doing her work, one by one. And she told me that had she not picked up the first person in Calcutta, she would have never picked up 42,000 herself from the streets. So she feels that, you know, God sent you and I to be the eyes, the arms, that human touch to each other. And we have to allow them to see that, to feel that kind of humanity. She felt that love, in order for it to be real, it must cost, it must empty us in some way of ourselves. And she said to me in the car one time, I knew her for 15 years, and I started out in a relationship, friendship with her, driving her around to her appointments in San Francisco, so that's how we got to know each other. And it was great for me because I had the opportunity to ask her anything sitting next to me. I had all these questions about spirituality, theology, that she was able to answer immediately and directly. And I remember one particular day where I was driving her around, and she seemed to be approached by a wide myriad of individuals and emotions. Some people would want to come up and touch her, or kiss her feet, or try to get some sort of relic from her, whereas others would just pour out their innermost confessions to her, which could be quite uncomfortable. So when she came back into the car, I asked her about that because I was quite curious of the fact that she never seemed to judge anybody. And so I said, Mother, you never seem to judge anybody that comes to you. And why is that? And very quickly she came back to me and said, I never judge anybody because it doesn't allow me the time to love them. So you can see how that would actually change the whole dynamic of our dealing with each other. One thing I wanted to do just briefly was to relay some of the lessons, the 8 lessons of peace and conflict resolution ideas that Nelson Mandela had. And I was able to spend 3 days with Nelson Mandela, and it was amazing. I was mostly interested in talking to him about his level of bitterness after being in prison for 27 years. And as soon as I got the opportunity to sit down with him, I asked him about that. He laughed at the question, and he said, well, in prison I learned to love my enemies because in loving my enemies it ruins their reputation. So that was his perspective. But he said the first important lesson toward conflict resolution was never to let go of your dreams. In spending 27 years, he went in there when his children were babies, and he came out as a great-grandfather. And he lost all of that, but he never lost hope in regard to a new South Africa and the end of apartheid. The second is he felt that you need to look for the good in people. And when he was released, there was a brutal jailer that had humiliated him for much of that time. And as Mr. Mandela was leaving the prison, this individual came up to him and said, good luck to you and your people. And that, I guess, struck him quite funny because he had never seen that humanity come out of that individual. So he's paused for a moment, I think, alarmed, and let me stop for a moment saying that over the course of 3 days, I don't know if I really got a sense of who the individual was, but my perspective on Mr. Mandela was that it was a discipline that allowed him that opportunity to forgive. Certainly he could have lashed out in retaliation, but he chose, I think, through the great discipline of his life, not to do so. And the third is to be courteous even to your enemies. And with this particular individual, he kind of returned the salutation to this individual, hoping the best for he and his family in the future. But the fourth is to talk with those that you're in strife with. And Mandela, he launched, when he was in prison, negotiations with the prison jailers in regard to trying to change some of the issues in the prison. And in my viewpoint, I think he was really a very realistic pragmatist. And much to the chagrin, I think, of the other inmates, even not realizing the impact that might have. The fifth lesson is to be generous even to those who hurt you. And Mandela was a lawyer by trade, so what he did is he worked on a lot of the cases with the inmates that they had. But he didn't stop there. He actually worked on a lot of the cases of jailers, who were truly some of the most notorious in regards to the crimes they committed in the apartheid movement. The sixth is to negotiate, that he felt that he could negotiate even with the most difficult individuals. And as I said, he tried to always improve the conditions, even with these very, very bigoted jailers that he was dealing with, always showing them, the best side. The seventh, he felt, was don't indulge them in thus them versus us, that type of division. And in regard to that, he decided to learn Afrikaans, which was the language that was spoken by jailers. And he also learned rugby, which turned out to be a handy thing for him later on. But it goes to show you that, he wanted to get to know these individuals, what their mindset was, what it was that was going through them, these individuals, the same individuals that wanted to eliminate him. And the eighth one is, he said if you do win, not to gloat, not to be, to be generous in that regard. And what he did is once he became president, the individual he had seated next to him at the inaugural was his jailer. And he really held this individual up as a man of honor right next to him. And of course, we all know that he set up the Truth and Reconciliation Commission, which had a tremendous impact in realizing that the country needed to be forgiven. Now, even in that particular step, he could have gone the other way. He could have retaliated. He could have persecuted a lot of these individuals that had created so many problems in the country. And who were left were the women of the country. They were the victims of these crimes. They were the wives, the sisters, the daughters of those who were killed. And they found it in their hearts to be able to forgive these horrific crimes. The Dalai Lama, I'll interject him a little bit. When I first met with him, he said that his religion was really quite simple. It was just the religion of kindness. And his motto, and something that I've heard over and over through the years with him, was really just to be kind whenever possible. And he would always follow that up with, it's always possible. I had a fun story with him. I was up in a hotel in San Francisco, and I was explaining what his schedule was going to be like over the next couple of hours. And, you're never alone. You're with the State Department and Secret Service and, all the security around him in his room. And then, of course, his monks and his particular security. And all of a sudden, there was a ladybug that landed on his arm in the room. And as you know, Tibetan Buddhism, they respect all living creatures. And so it was very interesting. He ended up transferring this ladybug into the hands of a young monk who quietly walked over to the window, opened up the window, and allowed that bug to go free. And right at that point, I said to His Holiness, that was beautiful to witness. And he said to me, he said, well, you know, I happen to be in a really good mood today, but yesterday I would have just gone like that. He has a fantastic sense of humor. Archbishop Desmond Tutu is another one that I've really gotten to know through the years. And his feeling is that it is a moral universe. We all breathe the same kind of air. And his motto in his life was always no to evil, yes to goodness. You know, he felt that South Africa had gone the other way, had chosen the path of retribution and revenge. The country would currently be in ashes. And he said when you nurse a grudge, it even affects your health. Your blood pressure goes up, and when you forgive, your blood pressure goes down, and you have that physical well-being, which really, in turn, gives you that spiritual well-being. So it can actually be good for your health. And you're really, truly free. You don't have any burdens. You're not chained to revenge, that burden of those kind of chains. He said if you're neutral in situations of injustice, then you have chosen the side of the oppressor. And he gave me a little analogy saying that if an elephant has its foot on the tail of a mouse and you say that you're neutral, the mouse may not appreciate your neutrality. So that was pretty clear for me. And he also felt that we might be surprised, because forgiveness, he felt, really brought the country into a new beginning. And without forgiveness, you didn't have that new beginning. And it wasn't a new beginning that was a doormat, that, you know, that forgiveness wasn't just a doormat that people would walk over, but it truly was like being in a stuffy room where the drapes are closed and you have no light pouring into that room. And with that forgiveness, many of us in our various space have that opportunity of a new beginning. And we all know that feeling, that burden being lifted from us, those windows opening up and that fresh air coming into your life. Mother Teresa also felt that, you know, in doing small things with great love, that was really the motto that she lived by. You know, it's all about the amount of love that you put into it. She didn't want her sisters working miracles and unkindness, but to do small things with great love. And going back to Tutu, he said that we might be quite surprised when we reach heaven and find the kind of people in heaven that maybe we wouldn't have thought would have gotten there. Because he said that God has a soft spot for sinners. He said the standards are quite low. Mother Teresa, on the other hand, set the bar very high in regard to forgiveness. She said that the forgiveness for her was the greatest presence of peace. She said in order to forgive fully, we must also forget. And she said only when we don't forgive each other we live in disharmony and jealousy and disturbance. She said just like we have love in action, we also have hatred in action. And the way Mother Teresa summed all that up in her life was she felt that the devil was very much apparent in our world. And the devil was really there just to destroy the image of God in our lives and create us to commit sin. And she said that it wasn't a question of how big or how small sin was. It was sin at any level, according to her, was the refusal of God in your life. And she said at that point, it's a very difficult poverty to resolve. You know, it's that loss of the presence of God and that replacement for the kind of things that we put in its place, whether it's lust, money, greed. But she said that that's when the great love, the great mercy of God comes in, because God's always willing to forgive and forget completely. And we don't need to look far, according to Mother Teresa, just inside our hearts. She felt that we need lots of love to forgive, but we need much more humility to forget. And that humility aspect, I think, is also very important, imperative with the work that you all do, because we really need to come to each other in that meekness, that humility. Maybe humility before God, but meekness with each other. That kind of completes the exchange that we have with each other. At the end of life, Mother Teresa also felt that we wouldn't be judged on how much we had amassed, how much material success or material things we had amassed, how much success we had gotten. In fact, she would oftentimes tell me, don't strive to be successful, strive to be faithful. So she always felt that at the end of life, we would be judged on those things that we all heard about. You know, and certainly in India and some of the poor countries, that rings true. You know, I was hungry and you gave me to eat. I was homeless and you took me in. I was naked and clothed. Those things were extraordinarily real to her. And I witnessed that too in my travels with her. But she also had the vision, as each one of you do, that it's not only being hungry for food, for a piece of bread, but it's hungry for love. And not only homeless for a house of bricks, but homeless of being rejected and alienated. Those were all the signs of God and the presence of that individual who she felt was, of course, the poor. And truly, I think with that type of maybe you think it might be baggage or whatever difficulties that person may be going through, that is a sense of poverty, that we can come in a neutral, third-party way and be able to bridge that gap. I'm going to leave you with the words of Archbishop Desmond Tutu, who said that God has this particular dream that we'll all discover that we're children of the same family. We belong to the same human family, a family in which there are no outsiders. All belong. All are held in the embrace of the one whose love will never let us go. The one who says that each one of us has an incredible worth. Each one of us is precious to God because each one of us has their name carved in the palm of God's hands. Black, white, young, old, rich, poor, gay, lesbian, straight, everyone. All belong. And God says, I only have you to help me realize my dream. Help me. Thank you. God bless you.